Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys of Magic. This is Hunter, Steven, David, and Shane. Say what up, boys.
Yo, what's going on?
Hey guys.
What's up, nerds?
We are back this time doing our Commander Grades video. If you're new here, we go through every legendary creature from the set, talk about them as potential commanders, give them a grade, and then finally wrap it up with a consensus grade between the four of us. This video, we are doing the Precon Commander decks from Murders at Karlov Manor. That's right, we had 4 of them. We built them. If you haven't seen those videos, check the description down below. You'll find links to all those upgrades. But, like I said, we are doing the Precon ones. Let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, I just want to remind everybody to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already so you're staying up to date with all this cool content we're doing. And let's go ahead and get started with the Deadly Disguise deck. This one is helmed by Kaust, Eyes of the Glade. It is a red or white and a green for a 2/2 legendary creature, Dryad Detective. It says whenever a creature you control that was turned face up this turn deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Has another ability where you can tap it. Turn target face down attacking creature you control face up. Shane, you had the opportunity to go ahead and do the upgrade on Deadly Disguise. This was the face commander. What do we think about Kaust?
He's an interesting take on the whole morph, cloak, disguise, whatever you want to call it. I thought he was a lot of fun. He was very cheap, so I was able to get him out very quickly and kind of start the shenanigans. The one downfall to him, though, is you kind of want to make the board a little wide. At least I wanted to make the board wider, and I kind of just had a bunch of tutus, and it just felt like I had a bunch of tutus. I know he has the potential to flip during combat and surprise your opponent with more damage, and it's really cool. He just felt a little slow, which is surprising because he's so cheap. But overall, I thought it was a really fun commander.
Yeah, as the resident Naya player here, I think having that hybrid Boros and a green as a casting cost is very cool. I would like to see that in future commander product or just future legendary product. That'd be a really interesting way to get cheaper commanders, even though eventually it'll just be kind of broken. But Kaust, I think, is very cool. It's a very interesting take, like you said, on the whole flip card. I know me and David, we went to the pre-release. We actually got to play the limited environment with the disguising kind of cloak mechanic. Very powerful in that kind of environment. As far as an EDH standpoint, having a 2/2 with board 2 is still pretty relevant, especially if you can go ahead and use Kaust and flip it over and surprise an opponent with a very strong, powerful card. I like it.
This card's just really slow. You just need so much. You could build a good board state, and Ward's great, but the second that board wipe hits, it really just demolishes everything you plan to do. Uh, if this card had haste, sick. But the fact that, you have to wait to tap it, and I get that's why it's a cheaper, cost, but nah, get it. Cheaper
Ah,
cost.
Cost, yeah.
Cost on
fun.
cost.
I understand why it's cheap to get it down early so that we can start doing the turn face down card face up. Like Shane said, it was just really slow. And in our $100 video, it was terrifying, but again, they were just tutus, and you can really only turn one creature face up.
Yeah, I think that really kind of summarizes my thought on this too, is that it's really cool that it's cheap, but without that like significant amount of support, this doesn't do anything. And then I feel like because of just how the deck is designed and how this commander wants to operate, by the time that you have the support in play, that's normally about the time that people start dropping board wipes, and this is not a deck that does a very good job of recovering from them. So I'm actually not super high on this card. I like that it exists. It's very unique. I'm glad that it's here, but I don't think this is a very big threat.
Well, I do like this card. I think, I don't know. I understand what you guys are saying. It's slow, but coming down at 2 mana is faster. Um, but yeah, I get it does nothing unless you have face down cards, which is a bummer because a card has to turn face up to deal combat damage, and you get to draw a card off that. So
yeah.
yes, it does the thing, but yes, you got to build around it. So I can see why you guys are down on this. But let's go ahead and move on to the grades. We'll start with you, Shane. What are we giving Kaust?
Even though I built it and I had a lot of fun, I'm gonna give him middle of the road C for me.
I am going to agree with you there. I think Kaust is going to be a C from me as well.
It's a C.
I'm actually going to steep one even lower here. Steep one? Stoop one? I'm going to stoop one even lower here. I'm going to give it a D.
All right. Well, Kaust, Eyes of the Glade, gets the average grade of a C. Moving on to the backup commander for Deadly Disguise, it's Duskana, the Rage Mother. It's 2, a red, a green, and a white, for a 5/5 legendary creature, Bear. It says when Duskana, the Rage Mother, enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2. It also says whenever a creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2 attacks, it gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Right back at you, Shane. I believe you swapped the face commander when you did your $300 upgrade. Again, check the description down below. What do we think about Duskana?
This card really caught my eye when I made the 100. I wanted to stick with the face commander in the 100, but like you said, this card just looked awesome. The fact that you could be playing your little 2/2s that don't actually need to be disguised or anything. They could just be 2/2s, which is great. As long as they're base power and toughness 2/2. You can play them, leading up until her huge 5 mana casting cost. But you can be casting some stuff, and then when you play her, the draw on her I think is fantastic. It'll refill your hand with hopefully more 2/2s, and then just that pump ability is nothing to scoff at, man. And as long as they're like, you could give all those creatures counters on them, and then still they'll get more. They'll get that +3/+3 as long as their base counter is still 2/2. So I think there's a lot going on in this card here. I think that the bummer is that it's a 5 mana, so it is going to probably be. I mean, luckily you have green, so you can ramp into it. But I don't know. I think she has a lot going for her, the Rage Mother.
David?
I actually don't think that 5 is too steep on this card. Like you mentioned, it isn't green, and 5 is still kind of a pretty nice sweet spot where it's not like super high on the curve. I also think that you could build this as just kind of like two good stuff where you're like stacking your opponent or slowing your opponents down. And then you can use this almost as like a Crater Hoof Behemoth, where you're going to drop this, your thing's now swinging as 5/5s, or potentially even bigger if they've got counters on them, and plus she refills your hand. I think this is a commander that to a certain extent, it's like you have to remove this if your opponent is playing it, but it's also going to suck because whenever they recast it, they're going to draw a ton more cards. So I'm actually much higher on Duskana than what I was on Kaust.
Yeah, I'm high on it too, man. I think Duskana is really cool. Like you said, there's a lot of cards that come in with +1/+1 counters on top of their base power and toughness 2/2. That just grows it even. This kind of reminds me of Okenek Ahu in terms of it wants that base power and toughness, and then it will continue to grow off of that. I like this card a lot.
God, am I gonna be the only one?
Yep.
You don't like the Rage Mother?
No, I'm just kidding. I like this card because it's a bear.
That's
What-
it.
I mean,
That's the
what
reason.
what do we call 2/2s? Bears.
We call them bears. Yeah.
I love the fact that this cares about 2/2s. But yeah, I mean, just like you guys are talking about, I love the fact that it's base power and toughness. It's not, what its current power and toughness are. I do love the fact that you could build such a large board state by the time you even think about playing this card. 2/2s are generally very cheap, and I this card could just do so much the way you could build around it. So I don't think that the 5 cost mana here is going to play that much into lowering my grade, just because I just put this card onto the battlefield, I just cast this card, hits the battlefield, and then I'll probably draw a bunch of lands because I got a bunch of creatures on the field. It's just going to help me.
Yeah, that's true. But let's go ahead and move on to the grades for Duskana. Shan, we will start with you once again. What are you giving Duskana?
I think I like Duskana more than Kaust. I'm going to be giving her a B.
Yeah, I am going to join you once again. Duskana gets a B from me.
I'm going to disagree with you guys several times throughout this video, of course, I guess. She's great at drawing cards, and she's great at closing out a game. Duskana is an A.
Wow.
Well, David? No. It's going to be a B from me.
All right, Duskana the Rage Mother gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to the next card, very rarely do we get another legendary out of a Precon set, but we do have a brand new one from that Deadly Disguise one. It is Tesak, Judith's Hellhound. It's 3 and a red for a 3/3 legendary creature elemental dog. It has Unleash. In case you forgot what that means, it says you may have this creature enter the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. If it can't block as long as it has a +1/+1 counter on it. Other dogs you control have Unleash. It also says creatures you control with counters on them have haste. And it says whenever Tesak, Judith's Hellhound attacks, add a red for each attacking creature. How do we feel about this card, David?
I mean, I like the ability to give your other things haste. I think that's kind of cool. Generally speaking, creatures that are going to have counters on them are probably creatures that have existed in play for a little bit. So I don't know how relevant that is. I don't actually care about Dog Tribal. It has the potential to make mana, but there's other red commanders out there that can do the exact same thing and aren't quite as narrow. It's one of those cards where it's like there's a lot of good things going for it, and there's also just like a lot of bad things going for it. So it is a
Yeah,
card.
keeping it in mono red and just being kind of dog tribal specific is very difficult. Also, you lose that red mana right after combat.
Yeah.
So that is a big bummer. But I will say, when this card was first announced, I did immediately throw it into Ren and Siri because I think it's really good in that deck.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a great support card, bud. Like David was saying, it's got so much on the card itself. Like, if you are building a dog tribal deck, this could be fun. I don't know what the dog tribal looks like in red, but getting everything 1/1, which also gives them haste. You're gonna be beating face and doing shenanigans. That's cool.
Oh, this card's rough.
Oh, I see what you did there.
He's got all the jokes.
Yeah, I got him, dude. But I will say, in all honesty, this card is rough. It's so many hoops you have to jump through, and I'm not a big fan of jumping through hoops. Unlike dogs, lions, kitty cats.
Oh,
Say
he's got 'em for
lions.
days, huh?
Does it say? I mean, circus.
At
You
a
know,
circus,
Uh,
you ever
sure.
been to the circus? Yes. I mean, I understand. I'll play a little devil's advocate here. I understand that the mana goes away after you're done attacking, but if you're in a, you know, if your deck is playing around counters and attacking and getting all that mana, aggravated assault, extra combat, it's definitely going to be very beneficial. But just no, I don't. I don't care for it. I'd rather just play anything else.
Well, Tesak, it doesn't seem like we're all high on you, but let's go ahead and move on to the grades. I'll start us off. I think this is going to be an F, unfortunately, because Dog Tribal and Mono Red seems a bit difficult to do.
Are we all gonna do it?
I'd say
Are we
we
all
all,
doing it?
I say
Are we all-
okay. Yeah, Hunter, I think I'm with you, man. I think I'm gonna be giving this an F as well.
I'm gonna continue my hot streak of being different for reasons. I don't know, but I'm gonna give this a D for dog.
Fair.
You know what? It's just interesting because like I think it is a D. Just the only reason why it's not an F is just because I think it's something nice to say. No, it's an F.
Well, okay then. Tesak, Judas Hellhound, after that, gets the average grade of an F. Moving on to the Revenant Recon Precon deck. This one is helmed by Mirko, Obsessive Theorist. It's a blue and a black for a 1/3 legendary creature vampire detective. It's got flying, it's got vigilance, and it says whenever you surveil, put a +1/+1 counter on Mirko, Obsessive Theorist. It also has another ability that says at the beginning of your end step, you may return target creature card with power less than Mirko's from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. In case you forgot, finality counters, if that would die, exile instead. I did the upgrade to this deck. Mirko is very interesting in terms of we've seen the whole bring something back with a finality counter literally in the previous set of Ixalan. Crazy that they brought things back already doing that. I thought it was going to be a final thing, but I guess not. The surveil theme isn't that powerful. I will say that right now. If there's other ways to pump up Mirko, then you have yourself a recursion deck. That's pretty much all this is. We've seen Demir recursion before. I think there are better options out there. But if you wanted to do the surveil thing just because it's different, I think you could.
As the resident Dimir player, I loved this deck so much. It broke my fucking heart that I couldn't build it. I do think the surveil mechanic is interesting. I do love the fact that it is a thing, though. I think that surveilling is going to be a lot bigger in the future, moving forward. But specifically in this deck, I think that it actually could have played a little bit more of a role in the $100 game that we probably didn't see. After watching Jimmy play this on his in the Command Zone video, it was pretty insane to watch. Although Hunter, your deck was very terrifying, recurring things like Toxrill and Jinkataxis. It was insane.
Yeah, put in some good recursion targets and you have a good recursion deck for sure. But I don't know. The surveil thing, yes, it's a better version of Scry because keep putting things in the graveyard is always better than putting it at the bottom of your deck. And we saw all the brand new lands that have surveil on them that always come in tapped. So I don't know if they're good, but I don't know, David. What do you think about Mirko?
This is such an interesting card because it's doing a lot of really powerful things. It's cheating on mana value because it's able to recur things from your graveyard. It's also a flying threat that is going to be able to grow. It says all of the things that it needs to say, but for whatever reason, like actually sitting down and playing against this, I never felt like it was actually like optimally doing its thing or like having enough of a board presence for me to actually feel threatened by it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just so trained at this point that just like graveyard recursion is really scary, but I felt like this was just not quite doing it for me. I think that he probably reads better than he plays.
I think the bummer about that, David, is that it cared about surveil, but you had to put all the surveil in the deck, so it didn't really do surveil itself. Maybe that would have been too much if it actually also somehow surveilled for you. But yeah, I agree with Hunter though. Like if you had a way to make him bigger, like very easily, you could be getting some crazy things, man. I think the problem was just Hunter wasn't able to pump him up as big as he wanted him.
Yeah, it's all about the cards that you have in your hand, right? And this deck wants to put things in the graveyard rather than their hand because of the surveil. So I don't know. I think it's very interesting. I'm just not completely sold on it. There are, like I said, I think there are better options at the recursion theme in Dimir than this card. Moving on to the grades, I'll start us off. Mirko Obsessive Theorist for me is getting a C.
I'm with you, Hunter. I think he is just kind of middle of the road for me. I'm giving him a C.
I hate this. I'm gonna have to agree. Ugh. All right, he's got a C, but I'm upset about it.
Well, to keep the Dave train going, I'm going to disagree. And I'm going to give this a B. I think it is a little bit stronger. I just think it was a bad showing that we saw. I think this could be really fun, and I do enjoy it.
Mirko Obsessive Theorist gets the average grade of a C. Next up, the backup commander to Revenant Recon. It's Marvo, Deep Operative. It's 3 blue and a black for a 1/8 legendary creature, Octopus Rogue. It says whenever Marvo Deep Operative attacks, clash with defending player. What does that mean? Well, each clashing player reveals the top card of their library, then puts that card on the top or bottom. A player wins if their card had a higher mana value. And whenever you win a clash, draw a card. Then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value 8 or less without paying its mana cost. What's something we always say, boys? Free spells are always
good.
Yeah, not always.
No, always.
This is free sometimes on a 5-mana commander that has to attack to do a thing. This is very slow.
It's a 1/8, Dave.
Yeah.
That's cool. Look, it's got to survive combat. It still needs to go to combat.
That's fine. It's a 1/8.
My
You're in
point-
blue. Counter things that target this.
My point being is your deck does nothing before turn 6.
What do you mean? You don't think you're going to set things up?
Nope.
I look at it like the first potential thing that you're going to cheat into play is on turn 6, which like that's cool. You're cheating an 8 mana or you're cheating like an 8 mana card in play. That's cool. You're cheating a mana value. You're cheating mana cost. Like you're doing what your deck wants to do. I still view this as very slow.
card draw and cheating something in. It's both.
I agree. All right, man. It is very slow, but that's a cool mechanic, man. I know it's been
It
around
is.
right before, but I've never got to play with Clash yet. That's like you're dueling somebody, dude. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Stack your deck up big, dude.
I would definitely build this for sure. I think it would be a lot of fun. Yeah, this seems like a deck Steven would build too for the memes,
Mm,
especially in Demir.
awkward.
That awkward no.
I mean, I really do agree with, David on this one for sure. I do like Marvo. I love the fact that it's a 1/8. I just, am I really holding up that many counter spells in hand just to maybe get something good? Like, I don't really know, man. Like, this card's fun and I love the clash mechanic. But again, if you don't hit any rocks, you're not ramping, this comes down on turn 5, you have to wait an entire turn for this to attack. And if it comes down turn 5 and you have no extra mana, it's gonna probably die.
Not always.
Even with you building around this too, like you still have to have the low value cards in your deck just to make your deck run. Like you're gonna be running your artifacts that are just gonna be like mana rocks. You're gonna be running your like 1 and 2 mana spells. So you're gonna
Running
play
your
this.
tutors to make your hand.
Like my point here being is you're going to be playing this card, and even with you being the heavy Kraken deck or whatever it is that you're taking this direction, you're still gonna lose clashes fairly regularly.
And even if you do win or lose a clash, at that point, you're helping your opponent see what they have on the top and allowing them to say, "Oh, that's not a good one. I'm going to put this on the bottom," and then helping them filter through their deck a little bit.
Yeah, but you're also in blue, right? So you're scrying as well. You can manipulate the top of your deck, so you always win a clash, and then you can cast that for free.
I love how you're so argumentative on this card. I know that you like this card. I think that this card is really dope. I'm not super high on this card.
I'm just going to say against what Hunter said. I mean, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying whether you win or lose. So let's say you do scry and you get the card that you win. You're still, regardless if you're winning, you're still helping your opponent by letting them see the top card of their library and them deciding whether they can put it on the top or the bottom. That I'm not a huge fan of.
That's fine. If I'm winning a clash, I'm putting out free stuff.
Yeah. Hey. I like this style, man. This style seems fun. If anything, I'll call this style borderline shenanigans, Hunter. But it seems
I'll tell you what.
Take it.
You build this, and I'm gonna build a before combat deck.
A before combat deck.
Yeah. I'm gonna move to combat. Any responses? Dead.
Got it.
Oh, so you're just gonna do removal.deck.
Yes.
Got it. All right. Well, let's move on to the grades. I'll kick us off with Marvo. I like this card a lot. It's a B.
Whoa. Not shocked, Hunter.
I'm not that high on this card, but it's Demir. So it's a B.
What?
Oh, there we go, Steven.
Wow.
I can't give Demir cards below a B.
Well,
Check the tape.
I enjoy playing Demir as well, bud, but I'm gonna give this card a C for the shenanigans.
I agree with Shane. I'm giving this a C.
All right. Well, Marvo Deep Operative, believe it or not, got the average grade of a B.
Demir.
Moving on to the Deep Clue C deck. That's right. It was helmed by Morska, Undersea Sleuth. It's a green, a white, and a blue for a 2/3 legendary creature, Vidalcan Fish Detective, not a merfolk, that says you have no maximum hand size. And it also says at the beginning of your upkeep, investigate. It also says, whenever you draw your second card each turn, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Morska, Undersea Sleuth. Steven, you got to upgrade Deep Clue C. What do we think about Morska?
I'm going to keep my explanation of this pretty simple, and I'm actually going to ask all three of you a question, and then I'm going to just pass it on.
Okay.
Do you guys like drawing cards?
I love it.
It's all right.
That's all I got. That's all I got to say.
Overrated.
You're trying to say that card draw wins games, Steven?
I'm trying to say card draw wins games.
Got it. Okay.
This deck, I did not want to upgrade this deck. I honestly did not have eyes for anything other than Demir. I will be honest. I know I keep saying it, but this deck was super fun to build and super fun to play. It just drawing your second card, not just on your own turn, but on other people's turn, was pretty easy, and just really, really ruined the day for all three of you. I feel like to the point where I don't know if I'll get to play that much in the $300 upgrade.
Not wrong.
But yeah, I mean, just having a no maximum hand size card in your command zone is pretty good.
I think this
Yeah,
card was like a
this-
sleeper, dude. I think you get left alone when you should be getting left alone with this card. It kind of just like goes under the radar and then explodes. Like this card is awesome.
Yeah, this was when I first saw all four of the decks, all four of the face commanders, I kind of thought this was going to be the most powerful, and I still think that after playing them. I think this is an incredible card draw wins games. That's hands down. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, this commander rewards you for doing the most powerful thing in the game.
It really does.
So
Yeah.
So question. So obviously, so we have card draw, and then what's here? Is it recursion, or is
Sure.
it? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking.
Are you,
Or
I
is it free
mean,
spells? Recursion.
it's
Free
gotta be
spells?
free spells, dude.
I think it's card draw, Thassa's Oracle, maybe recursion.
Okay.
Thassa's Oracle specifically. Yeah, okay.
God, dude.
You
if
got a
you
dock
would-
side in there somewhere.
Hmm.
Ugh.
What do you think, Dave?
I don't know. I said what I needed to say on this. I think this card is very good. I do think that it's a card that just kind of like sits around and gets value. I think that the way that it's worded, it probably doesn't draw enough hate, which is to the benefit of this commander.
Yeah, that sweet spot, right, Steven? That 3 mana in each color.
Yeah, what I will say about this is, even though this was on the field most of our game, I really don't think this card in particular really impacted the game. I think that's my only comment about it. I mean, it's a super strong card because you can kind of build it Voltron-y, because it does get pretty big very quickly. But in all reality, the way the deck was built Precon wise, and also just adding a few cards, really just the deck showed its true strength.
Yeah, the deck, I feel like all 4 of these decks out of the box played to their strength, which was good. Keep doing that, Wizards. But I still think this is the most powerful. Let's move on to the grades. Steven, what are you giving Morska?
I mean, as a commander,
Yes.
man, I'm gonna give it a B. It's like a high C, low B for me. I'm not gonna lie, but I will give it a B.
I'm going to give it a high B myself. I think it's powerful enough to right below A.
We don't do high Bs, dude. We just do straight letter grades. And I'm gonna give it a B.
I'm gonna give it a middle of the road B.
Look at us all on the same page. Morska Undersea Sleuth gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to the backup commander for Deep Blue Sea. You would expect it to be in the water, but it's not. It's Sophia, Dogged Detective. It is 1, a green, a white, and a blue for a 3/4 legendary creature, human detective. It says when Sophia Dog Detective enters the battlefield, create Tiny, a legendary 2/2 green dog detective creature token with trample. It also has another ability. You could pay 1, sacrifice an artifact token, put a +1/+1 counter on each dog you control. And another ability that says whenever a dog you control deals combat damage to a player, create a food token, then investigate. Once again, Steven, what do we think about Sophia?
This card was interesting. I don't understand why it was in the deck, because the deck didn't have any dogs in it. So it was really kind of weird.
It's just trying to
Building-
make Tiny bigger.
I mean, yeah, cool. The other pieces really want dogs. It's a really interesting card. I do like the fact that whenever the dog does deal combat damage, you get 2 tokens. So that's really nice. I mean, there's definitely ways you can have some fun with that, especially with the cards that are in the deck, and especially with the cards I added from the 100 and the 300. I don't really get enough fun out of this. I'm sure there's tons of dogs in these colors, but it never really intrigued me enough to build it. I do love the fact that this comes down. You don't have to tap it or wait a turn. It's an automatic. Just pay once, start sacking stuff, and have a good time.
Yeah,
So
Scooby
much
Doo
of this
seems a little memey to me, dude.
So
Yeah.
okay, I know that is a joke, but like legit though, I look at a card like this and I think, is this one of those weird examples of like, you know how they do the universes beyond, and then sometimes they'll go back and they'll do the universes within, like what they did with the Walking Dead, Street Fighter. Help me out here, the Netflix show, the
Stranger
Stranger
Things.
Things.
there you go. So Stranger Things. Is this a case of like we got the universes within before we got the universes beyond? Like this
No
this is
idea.
Shaggy and Scooby Doo.
No idea. I could see
Like
it though.
was that supposed to be a thing, and they made this card and they just like, well, I mean, we've got this one ready to go and we paid for the art, so let's just throw it in a Commander Precon.
It
It's
makes
it's
maybe.
definitely a nod to it, but I don't know.
That's super random. Like Steven said, deep clue C, and then there's a
It's
dog.
investigating, it cares about food, it cares about dog. It
cares
makes
about
a dog.
Yeah, I was like, it cares about dog.
Well, that's why I said dog and not dogs. But like, I don't know. This card just seems a little clunky, a little out of place. I'm not really a big fan of it. I don't really have many positive things to say about this, so I think I'm just done talking.
Yeah, I think you guys hit all the things I wanted to say too. So let's go ahead and just move straight into the grades. Steven, what are you giving Sophia Dog Detective?
I mean, it does something, you know. So give it a good old D for dog.
I want to give it a
Yeah,
D for dog too, dude.
I think I'm gonna join you there too. D for dog.
At least on the bright side, white and green, there are a couple of dogs in those colors, so you can build this as your dog deck. It's a D though.
Sophia Dog Detective gets the average grade of a D. Moving on to the final precon deck, that is called a Blame Game. It is helmed by Nelly Borca, Impulsive Accuser. It is 2, a red and a white for a 2/4 legendary creature human detective. It's got vigilance and says whenever Nelly Borca Impulsive Accuser attacks, suspect target creature. Then goad all suspected creatures. What is suspect? Well, it's the new mechanic from the set that says a suspected creature has menace and can't block. It also says whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls deal combat damage to one or more of your opponents, you and the controller of those creatures each draw a card. David, you upgraded Blame Game. What do we think about old Nelly?
So I actually do have to admit, I genuinely do not remember a time of which I have played a precon or an upgrade of a precon that I have had more fun than playing this deck. I had an absolute blast. I love this card. Now, I don't know if it's actually very good, but it is slam dunk as far as like genuine fun factor to play.
I saw the joy
saw
on
that.
your face, Steven.
Yeah, I
David.
was about to say the same thing. I saw how much fun you were having in our misery.
This is one of those commanders though. Like I remember David said it multiple times. It wants to sit back and let just the board beat themselves, which I think is pretty awesome. We think it's really good. I don't know if it's as good as we think it is, but just the fact that you can sit back and let the board beat each other up, pretty cool.
I like the fact that it suspects something when it attacks, meaning whatever you suspect, say, for example, you're attacking an opponent and you suspect their creature, that means your commander gets in because it can't block anymore.
Yep.
I think that's very, very cool.
The suspect mechanic too is also one that sticks around for the entire time that creature remains in play. So the goad only kicks whenever Nelly actually ends up dealing combat damage. But I mean, any suspected creature is going to remain suspected, which does have a very real impact on how people are able to attack and block.
Not
Don't even have to
damage.
deal combat damage.
Yeah, just attack.
There are cards in the set though that can turn an a suspected creature not suspected. But yeah, if you don't have those cards, man, they're just suspected forever.
You're not playing those cards.
Maybe they're in a precon. I don't know.
David's deck did what I love to do, and that is you sit down, you get ready to play Magic with your friends, and you take a couple pillows that are nearby, you put them next to you. You build this little fort to where people can't attack you because you just build all these stacksy things.
Like pillow
And it was
fort?
just, yeah, it's a pillow fort.
Here's a question for you. Now that Goat is getting more and more cards, getting stronger. Is Nelly Borca one of the better goad commanders?
No.
She has card draw stable onto her. I would argue yes.
Card draw wins game, Steven.
Yep,
Yes,
but
we
there are
just
other
learned that.
card draw goad commanders that I'd rather play,
Yeah, I think Nelly
especially
Borca's
ones
pretty
that don't let my opponents draw cards.
Yeah, what about like Erie the Charmed Apple? I don't know why I've never.
I'm just gonna fur crack.
Cunning, yeah.
Let's move on to the grades. David, what are you giving Nelly Borca?
I'm gonna give her a B. I really loved this card. 100% will play this deck again.
I'm with you, bud. I'm gonna give her a B as well.
As the Boros player, I'm going to join you guys in the B category.
Oh, B. Sure, yeah, I'll give it a B. Why not? Let's join that train.
Nelly Borca, Impulsive Accuser, gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to the backup commander for Blame Game, and also the final card we're talking about in this video. It is Feather Radiant Arbiter. It is a red and 2 white for a 4/3 legendary creature, Angel. It's got flying and lifelink and says whenever you cast a non-creature spell that targets only Feather Radiant Arbiter, you may choose any number of other creatures that spell could target and pay 2 for each of those creatures. If you do, for each of those creatures, copy that spell. The copy targets that creature. David, once again, we'll start with you. What do we think about Feather?
Feather is very interesting. There's a lot that I like about her. Just generally speaking, she's got wonderful stats to mana value ratio. And I do think that if you wanted to build like a Voltron style commander, like she could potentially be pretty powerful. The downside, however, being is a lot of the things that you would want to actually be copying because of the way that she's worded are like the goad enchantments that are included in this precon. So like you're putting your like goad thing that gives her like +2/+2 in vigilance on this, and then you do it to one of your opponent's things. So like you're bumping her up and you're kind of taking your opponent's creature out of combat or something. It's just really weird because I feel like she's not super synergistic with a lot of cards that currently exist in Magic.
I agree with you. Her stats are crazy. 3 mana for a 4/3 flying lifelinker. Out of the gate. A+. But yeah, the ability where you have to pay extra for each creature beyond that, kind of a bummer. We've kind of seen this before with things like Zada or something like that, where it was just free. And I know you can do it to your opponent's things. Zada was only your things, but I don't know. Just a bummer. It's going to cost a lot. And yes, you can make treasures in this color combination, so you might have the mana. But it's a lot.
Like a reverse Ivy too, man. It's like I get that, but I honestly think that we're all harping on the same thing. At least some of us are. The pay 2, kind of a bummer, man. I want my free spells to be free, not 2.
Free spells are cheaper.
No,
Okay.
my mom told me once if I don't have anything nice to say, you don't say it at all.
Okay.
It's good 3 mana 4/3
With
flying
lifelink.
with lifelink.
All right, Steven, you apparently don't like this card. Let's go ahead and move on to the grades, starting once again. David, kick us off. Feather.
I'm gonna give her a C. I think she's middle of the road.
I agree. She is middle of the road for me too. With those awesome stats, she's still a C.
I would agree. Middle of the road C.
Just because I'm a big fan of the other Feather, I think I'm just going to give this one a D.
Feather Radiant Arbiter gets the average grade of a C. And that is going to do it for us today. If you guys liked that video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, so you are staying up to date with everything that we got going on, especially when it comes to upgrade videos like the ones you see in the description. That's right. All the $100 and $300 upgrade videos from all the precons that we just talked about are in the description. Comment down below if you guys agree with these grades. Do you disagree with these grades? We're always interested to hear what you guys' opinions are. Sometimes they change our minds. In the description, you'll find links to our social media accounts. That's right. That's Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Follow us on those to keep up to date with everything else that we got going on. We also have a Patreon. on the screen right now, those are all of our Patreon subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the extra support. It means the world to us. If you guys wanted to join them to see some extra content that you haven't seen on YouTube, check the link in the description as well. And until the next video, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Later.
Bye.
Bye bye.